Back here on HQ Spotlight. All right, I got to get my mind right for fantasy football because it's about that time. Week 1 of the preseason is in the books, and we have to talk about some injuries that are very, very notable after those preseason games, and especially when it comes to the running back position. Tyjae Spears dealing with an ankle injury, and then out in Tampa Bay, Rachaad White dealing with a groin injury. So we have our guys in studio. We have Dave Richard here with us on set. Great to see you, my friend, and Jamey Eisenberg. Love being here, but we got to talk about injuries, right? Because we're going to talk about sleepers in just a moment. But, Jamey, for you, Tyjae Spears, he was actually one of your sleepers at the running back position before everything happened with the injury. So how is that going to impact folks as we're having drafts here in the next, week or so, or more than that?
Yeah, Jacqueline, one of my favorite sleepers. I was really looking forward to seeing what he will do and hopefully still can do. He's not out for the season, thankfully, but high ankle sprain is never something you want to hear. It's going to be something that probably lingers even once he's back, and we don't yet have a timetable on when he's going to return, so that makes things much better for Tony Pollard. Last year, Pollard had 7 games where he played at least 73% of the snaps. Part of that was due to Spears missing 5 games due to injury himself, and in those 7 games, 4 of them, he was 14.5 PPR points or better, which puts him right in the middle of the number 2 running back range when he's on the high end of that number. So there's a chance for him to be a top 15 caliber running back whenever Spears is out, and if Spears is going to miss any time in the regular season. So we'll find out. So I think Pollard is worth drafting right now in that round 5, round 6 range. And for Spears, he's now a guy that you take with a late round pick with the hope that he could still be something for this Titans backfield at some point during the season.
All right. And Dave, I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just so excited to talk about fantasy football.
Well, that's how it goes.
Right.
That's how everybody feels.
Let's talk about Rachaad White, because that is the injury that is most concerning to you that we've seen from the preseason.
And I'm a little bit worried about what it means for the Tampa Bay running back rotation. Everybody's excited about Bucky Irving, myself included. We're talking about a running back here in Tampa Bay. He was really outstanding last year. He's a second-round pick now. People are going to gravitate toward him. If you can find him in round 3, that's a steal. But Rachaad White, if he's out, does that mean that it's all systems go and we're going to see nothing but Bucky Irving for the entire season? No, that's definitely not what's going to happen, because they've got another running back there named Sean Tucker. He ends up being a player who could end up impacting the workload that Bucky Irving would have if Rachaad White's out. But I think Rachaad White will be okay. Todd Bowles called him day to day. So it'll probably be mostly Irving and White for the majority of the year, provided that they both stay healthy. Sean Tucker, more of a handcuff to Bucky Irving in the deepest of leagues. I don't think Sean Tucker will matter that much over the course of the year. Bucky Irving's still the running back that you want in Tampa. Rachaad White, double-digit rounds.
All right, and now we're going to talk about sleepers at every position, starting, of course, with the running backs. If you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, this segment is for you. That's a little tease for you to stick around. Jamey, I do want to come to you first with your running backs. And we talked about Buffalo and the certain contract situation that they're dealing with James Cook. So that kind of plays into one of your sleepers here at the running back position.
You said running backs or kickers? Because Ray Davis is a kicker now.
I'm sorry. Well, that's what the slug said, so it's in my mind. But give us your sleepers that are running backs.
Yeah, no, Ray Davis was getting opportunities to kick for the Bills. That's what I was getting at. He's going to do it all for Buffalo, especially if James Cook doesn't show up. There's a chance for him to be a very prominent fantasy option. We saw last year one game against the Jets where James Cook did not play, and we had over 20 total touches for James Cook, and he scored over 18 PPR points in that game. He had 4 games last year with at least double digits in carries, and in 3 of them, he scored 13-plus PPR points. So there's a clear path here to success for him if James Cook has to miss any time. And the thing that we've seen over the last 2 years is anybody that's been a hold-in or a hold-out, 2 prominent running backs in Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor, their numbers were awful. So if we don't see Cook for whatever reason due to injury, if he has to miss any time because of his contract, then Ray Davis could be a potential starter for fantasy managers because we know how good this backfield could be. So he's an easy guy to target anything close to the double-digit rounds. I start looking for him in round 8. And then Jaden Blue may end up being the best running back for the Cowboys. We know Javonte Williams is going to get the first opportunity. I don't like the fact that Blue has a little bit of a heel injury, but nothing major, similar to what we're dealing with Tyjae Spears. But I think at some point during the season, Blue is going to matter in a big way. And so similar to some of these other backfields, I know Dave's going to talk about Jacksonville. I want to wait on Jaden Blue and let somebody else take Javonte Williams. Similar to the Jaguars, I want to wait on Bishal Tootin and let somebody else take Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. I think these two rookies, in particular, in terms of Blue and Tootin, are going to matter in a big way at some point during the season. But for the Cowboys, it's just such a wide-open backfield. We could see Blue be a very significant fantasy option later in the season.
So I'm going to go with 2 running backs also, and I'm going to save the Jacksonville running back for last on this list because we're just seeming to like promote the Jaguars here in this segment.
We're talking about kickers. I was going to talk about Cam Little, but whatever. I won't pile on.
70-yard field goal was pretty impressive.
That's going to be my guy.
Enough of the Jaguars for like 30 seconds, okay, Jacqueline?
Come on.
Braylon Allen looked like the better Jets running back in their preseason game, and I think that Braylon Allen is going to be a factor for this run game with the Jets. Aaron Glenn, their new head coach, has talked about it all season long. I want to use 3 running backs in the backfield, and he came from Detroit. Detroit used multiple running backs. Both those running backs have done pretty well for fantasy managers. Braylon Allen, if he continues to outplay Breece Hall, that sounds silly, but if it ends up happening, he's going to end up being an amazing value. I love him in the double-digit rounds. I think you'll see Ray Davis get drafted before Braylon Allen. So when you see Ray Davis go and you see Jaden Blue go, that's when you should swipe in and get Braylon Allen. Just be patient with him. And then with Jacksonville, let's finally get to it. Tank Bigsby is the one that I like the most. And you see him here in our consensus rankings back-to-back with Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne started for Jacksonville in the preseason game, played all the snaps with Trevor Lawrence. That's going to make the value fall for Tank Bigsby because everybody's going to gravitate toward Etienne. I like Bigsby better. He's more physical. He had amazing efficiency last year. I think it's going to be a messy committee with all the Jaguars running backs anyway. So give me the guy who's a little bit more physical, the guy who might play in short yardage situations. That's Tank Bigsby. You can find him in round 9 or later.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's get to the quarterback position. And we're just going to stick with the Jags theme here because you got my boy T-Law on your sleeper list. Jamie?
I'm excited. What we saw last year with Liam Cohen was a career season for Baker Mayfield. And we saw a big part of it was due to his rushing. And what Trevor Lawrence has done in 2 seasons, he's been over 330 rushing yards. I think he could be a 400-yard rusher in this offense. But the thing that's going to make him obviously a great fantasy asset is what he does with the 2 receivers that he has. And so the addition of Travis Hunter, what Brian Thomas Jr. did at the end of last season without Trevor Lawrence on the field as he was dealing with the shoulder injury, I think Lawrence is going to end up being one of the better late-round picks. And so the upside is definitely there. We know what the downside is. But you know what? If he struggles, he's probably your backup quarterback. Don't even worry about it. You can cut him. I think he's going to have a big season, though, maybe the best season yet of his career. So I'm really excited about Trevor Lawrence. And the same thing with J.J. McCarthy. Look, we know what Kevin O'Connell does for quarterbacks. He did it with Sam Darnold last year. He did it with Kirk Cousins before Cousins had the Achilles injury. He produces top 10 fantasy production from that position. Now, you don't have Jordan Addison for the first 3 games. That stinks. You have Justin Jefferson dealing with the hamstring injury right now. He should be fine for week 1, but obviously there's the what-if scenario if Jefferson has to miss any time. But when everybody's there and when you might need a second quarterback in a 1-quarterback league, J.J. McCarthy from week 7 on, when Addison and Jefferson and Hockenson are hopefully all healthy and playing at a high level, we could see the best of this Vikings offense, maybe even better than what Darnold did last year. So a great late-round target is J.J. McCarthy if you're looking for a backup quarterback with upside.
I've had the fortunate ability to see Drake May practice this training camp, and he looked amazing against the Commanders in practice, and then he went out in the preseason game, and aside from one really ugly turnover, he played pretty well. He stole a rushing touchdown in the preseason game. He stole a rushing touchdown in practice. That's part of the appeal for Drake May.
That's what we like to see.
But when I saw him in practice, I mean, he's a quarterback. You want him to throw the ball. 2 off-target throws over the course of all of his drills and everything else. That's good. So I think Drake May has a chance to actually elevate those wide receivers that the Patriots have. It's Stephon Diggs. It's Demario Douglas. It's Hunter Henry at tight end. Yeah, those names aren't going to make you excited as a fantasy manager, but Drake May, if he's decent as a passer and he's good as a rusher and he steals those rushing touchdowns, that's amazing for fantasy. And speaking of rushing touchdowns, I think that's like the one thing Anthony Richardson can still do well, is run with the football. Obviously, there's injury concerns. Obviously, there's concerns with his arm. I can't sit here and tell you that he's going to be a great passer, but I can tell you that his competition is Daniel Jones, and he's not a great passer either. I think the Colts at this point would like to start the year with Anthony Richardson. I believe he's healthy and good to go. You could do worse with a late-round pick than Anthony Richardson. And by the way, 4 really interesting names here. There are a lot of sleepers at quarterback this year. There's other names that we could have gotten into. This is a great position, a deep position, one you don't necessarily have to reach for on draft day.
Okay, and what about wide receivers, Dave? Who are some of the sleepers that you're honing in on?
I like what I saw from Emeka Egbuka. I got to see him practice as well, and we know from all the reports that have been coming out of Tampa Bay that he's got great route running, he's got great hands, he's got great versatility, and you saw a little bit of that in the preseason game. I saw a lot more of it against the Titans. I think he's going to end up being the outside receiver opposite Mike Evans in this Tampa Bay passing game, and they look really, really good. I think Emeka Egbuka absolutely worth like a round 7-8 pick. Maybe he falls into round 9, somebody that you draft, and he ends up being your number 3 receiver. I'm a little concerned about Chris Godwin returning to the form that we saw before he got hurt. And then Rashid Shaheed in New Orleans. Do you remember how he started last year?
I know.
He was on fire.
Let me know.
He had Derek Carr, quarterback.
That's kind of hard to. It's hard to think about Derek Carr and the Saints. It feels like 12,000 years ago.
It really does. It feels like ancient history. But Rashid Shaheed, just as far as double-digit round wide receivers go, an easy guy to go and put on your fantasy bench and then have him break out during the year. Could end up being the best receiver in New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I'm really excited about Demario Douglas. I like the setup for him as the slot receiver for Josh McDaniels. We've seen what that's been over the course of history with Wes Welker and Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola, and this is a guy Drake May is leaning on potentially quite a bit. And then you look at the situation with Keon Coleman. Khalil Shakir's got a high ankle sprain of his own. Coleman was drafted to potentially be the alpha of this receiving core. He didn't do it last year, but in 2 games before he suffered a wrist injury, he was starting to look like that guy for Buffalo, and I think he could be that guy this year. So 2 guys you could take after round 10 could easily be starters in 3 receiver leagues.
Jamey, Dave, we certainly appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me have some hope about the Jacksonville Jaguars, because I don't know how long that's going to last, so I will take it while I can get it. I appreciate you guys. And, of course, you can hear the fellas on Fantasy Football Today. They are answering all of your fantasy questions, sleepers, everything you need to know. You can watch right now by scanning that QR code on your screen.